On a freezing winter night, a little girl spotted two helpless puppies shivering in the snow. Their tiny bodies trembled. Their whimpers cut through the icy silence like desperate cries for help. With tears streaming down her face, she pressed her hands together as if begging the universe to save them. No one else was around. No one else cared. She knew her parents wouldn't approve, but she couldn't walk away. She couldn't leave them there to die. Against all odds, she made a choice that would change everything. She carried them home, wrapped them in blankets, and prayed they'd survive the night. She thought she had saved their lives. But what she didn't know was that these puppies weren't ordinary strays. At sunrise, flashing lights and police sirens surrounded her house. Why were they there? And what secret were the freezing puppies carrying? The answer would shock everyone. The night was colder than anyone had expected. Snowflakes drifted down like tiny shards of ice, covering the quiet street in a thick blanket of white. Most people were inside, safe and warm, but one small figure moved carefully through the snow. A little girl in a red coat trudged along the path, her breath forming pale clouds in the frosty air. She hugged herself tightly, wishing the winter chill would ease just a little. That's when she heard it. So faint at first she thought she imagined it. A weak, broken whimper carried through the silence. She stopped, her heart thudding hard in her chest. The sound came again, sharper this time, trembling with desperation. Curiosity and fear pushed her toward the source. Beside a wooden fence near an old cabin, two small shapes huddled together, shivering violently. Puppies. Their fur was dusted with snow, their tiny noses buried against each other as they tried desperately to survive the biting cold. The girl's eyes filled with tears. Her parents had always told her never to bring strays home. But leaving them here meant certain death. She dropped to her knees, her hands trembling as she reached out. "Don't worry," she whispered. "I won't let you freeze." That night, her life changed forever. The little girl's arms strained as she scooped the shivering puppies against her chest. Their bodies were so cold she could feel the icy chill even through her gloves. She pressed them close, tucking them beneath her coat as best as she could. The snow crunched loudly beneath her boots as she hurried home, her small heart pounding faster with every step. She knew if her parents saw her like this, she'd be in trouble. But the thought of leaving the puppies behind was unbearable. When she reached the house, she paused, her breath ragged. The lights in the living room glowed faintly. Shadows of her parents moved across the curtains. Quietly, she slipped around the side, using the back door. With a trembling hand, she turned the knob slowly until it clicked open, then slid inside, cradling the pups tightly. She crept upstairs, each stair creaking louder than she wished. Her room was small but warm. A safe haven compared to the frozen night outside. Gently, she laid the puppies on her bed, wrapping them in an old quilt. Their whimpers softened. Tiny tails twitched as they burrowed into the warmth. She brought a bowl of warm milk she had secretly heated, guiding their tiny mouths to sip. Watching them drink, her fear eased just a little. Kneeling beside them, she whispered, "You're safe now. No one will hurt you." As the puppies drifted into exhausted sleep, the little girl pressed her palms together, praying they would survive until morning. The first light of dawn slipped through the curtains, casting pale streaks across the little girl's room. She rubbed her sleepy eyes and turned toward the bed, where the two puppies were curled up in a ball beneath the quilt. Their tiny chests rose and fell softly. Relief spread through her. Against all odds, they had survived the night. But just as she was about to smile, a strange noise shattered the calm. It wasn't birdsong or the crunch of snow. It was barking. Loud. Sharp. Powerful. She sat up straight, her heart hammering. These weren't the weak whimpers of her puppies. These were deep, commanding barks. The kind that made the ground tremble. Within moments, the sound of sirens cut through the morning air. Red and blue lights flashed against the walls of her room. Confused voices rose outside, mixing with the barking of trained dogs. The girl ran to the window, her breath fogging the glass. Her eyes widened. Police cars had surrounded her house. Neighbors gathered at their fences, whispering and pointing. Her parents rushed into her room, startled by the commotion. "What on earth is happening?" her mother gasped. Before anyone could answer, there came a heavy knock at the door. Firm. Demanding. Impossible to ignore. The girl clutched the puppies tighter, their tiny bodies trembling in her arms. A chill ran down her spine. Something told her this wasn't just about two strays anymore. The secret she thought she had hidden was about to be revealed. The front door creaked open, and in poured a rush of cold air along with the stern presence of uniformed officers. Their boots thudded heavily against the wooden floor, their eyes sharp and searching. A tall officer with a square jaw stepped forward, his expression serious. "We're looking for two missing K9 puppies," he said firmly. "They were stolen from a training facility last night. We tracked their trail here." The girl's parents exchanged bewildered glances. "Stolen? That can't be right," her father stammered. "We don't know anything about that." But before they could say more, the little girl stepped out from behind them, her arms wrapped protectively around the two pups. Tears welled in her eyes as she shook her head. "I didn't steal them," she cried softly. "I found them outside in the snow. They were freezing. I just wanted to help." The room fell silent. The officers glanced at one another, their suspicion heavy in the air. The lead officer's gaze softened as he crouched down to her level. "You're saying you found them alone?" She nodded quickly, her cheeks wet with tears. "Please don't take them away. They needed me." "Yes." If this story touches your heart, please share it with someone who believes in the power of compassion. The officer studied the trembling pups, then looked back at the girl's desperate face. Something in her eyes, pure, frightened honesty, struck him. Slowly, he rose to his feet. "This child might be telling the truth," he said at last. "But if she is, then these puppies weren't just lost. Someone wanted them gone." The officer's words hung in the air like a storm cloud. The parents stood frozen, still trying to process what was happening, while the little girl clutched the puppies as if letting go would mean losing a piece of her own heart. Another officer returned from outside, holding a notepad. "We checked the tracks in the snow," he reported. "They lead straight from the woods to the house. Looks like the girl's story matches up. These pups must have been abandoned out there." The tall officer exhaled, his stern expression softening. He crouched once more, meeting the girl's teary eyes. "You didn't steal them," he said gently. "You saved them." The girl blinked, hardly believing his words. For a moment, the fear that had gripped her all morning melted into relief. Her parents sighed, their shoulders lowering, realizing their daughter's courage had kept two lives from freezing to death. But then the officer added something unexpected. "What you did was brave," he said, glancing at the pups nestled against her chest. "If it weren't for you, they wouldn't be alive right now. You didn't just rescue them. You may have saved the future of our entire K9 unit." By the following afternoon, the story of the little girl and the freezing puppies had spread through the town like wildfire. Neighbors who once whispered with suspicion now looked at her with admiration. The police chief himself arrived, stepping out of his car with a solemn smile. In his hands, he carried a framed certificate of bravery. Kneeling before her, he said, "Sometimes heroes come in the smallest packages. Without your courage, these puppies would not be alive today." The girl's cheeks flushed as he handed her the certificate. Her parents stood proudly behind her, their eyes glistening with tears. The officers allowed her to visit the K9 facility where the pups would be trained. One of them, a playful little one with floppy ears, refused to leave her side, nuzzling against her hand as if it had already chosen her as its person. The girl giggled, her earlier fear now replaced by pure joy. She realized she hadn't just saved two puppies. She had gained lifelong friends. As the day ended, she whispered to them, "That night, I thought I saved you. But maybe you saved me too." And for everyone watching, her story became a reminder of how even the smallest act of kindness can change the world. If this incredible story moved you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more heartwarming true stories that prove courage comes in all sizes.